because I want to talk about it. So, I was going back and forth, again with Tara Depew, Mako land use attorney, on whether or not a developer should have to pay proportionate share of upgrading a county road. So historically, we have never required any developer to do any improvements to a county road. This was based on information shared with us with our previous Mako land use attorney, Susan Swimley. She, the short version of information she shared with me was, if it's a county road, they do nothing. The reason for that, there was a Hamlin versus Lewis and Clark County case where the developers were required by Lewis and Clark County to improve the county road. They were sued. They lost. So all counties essentially put the brakes on requiring any developers to improve county roads. This was under previous Mako land use attorney opinion. I asked Tara that we were having conversations about this Spring Street and Big Sky Drive, which then led into Springville Lane discussion. And Tara's response to me on whether or not a developer should be required to improve a county road. Let me find my question and I will read you her answer. Okay, so this is my question to Tara Depew on November 21st, 2018. I have a subdivision submittal up for review where the developers are proposing access to the development via an unconstructed county road. Again, this is reflecting back on Spring Street, not Springville Road. What is the obligation of the developers to improve the road to subdivision standards? Can a private individual do work in a county roadway, or do they need to pay the county to do the work? Any advice would be greatly appreciated. This is Tara's response, same day, Wednesday, November 21st, 2018. Tara states, the developer must pay the proportionate share the subdivision will have on the roads leading to the subdivision. In this case, if the access road is an undeveloped county road, since no one else is using the road, the subdivider will have to pay for 100% of the required improvements to the county road. The county can allow the subdivider to build the county road to county specs or pay the county the cost of building the road. It's really up to the county whether the subdivider builds the road or the county builds the road. The conditions of preliminary plat approval should be specific as to what standards the county road must be built to, and the county must approve the construction of the road to its standards before final plat. I then had a follow-up question. This was November 28th, 2018. So my question. When a subdivision lot will have access directly off of a county road, and said road is not built to county road standards, is the developer required to pay the proportionate share of improvements, even though other county residents are using the road? I'm comparing this to the Hamlin versus Lewis and Clark County case. Tara's response, November 28, 2018. If the lot is right off of the county road, and the county road did not meet county road standards, that lot would only be responsible for its proportionate share of traffic on the county road. Most likely a traffic study would need to be done to determine what the current level of traffic is, and then determine how much more traffic the one lot would add. Again, a follow-up question. This is from me to Tara, January 27th, 2019. So if a subdivision is utilizing a county road to get to a subdivision road, are they still required to pay their percentage of upgrades to the county road, assuming that county road is not built to county road standards? Tara's response, this was Sunday, January 27th, 2019. Section 76.3.510 limits extension of capital facilities, which includes public county roads, to the impacts directly attributable to the subdivision. A flat assessment will not work based on the proportionate impact of the particular subdivision can be paid to the county and put in a fund for the specific county road. Then the county will need to schedule to make the improvements needed. So again, I don't know, this is not how we've, I hate to say we've done it in the past, but this is not how we have followed under previous instruction in the past, to require a developer to do any maintenance or any proportionate share on a county road. Because it's very difficult to look at a county road and say, well, this is our standard. Again, going back to the county may require improvements, may maintain a county road, but not shall. So I feel a little uncomfortable if the county isn't required to maintain their county roads. Do we put that burden on the developer to bring that county road up to a standard if it doesn't meet that standard currently, that county road standard? And not that the county has done anything wrong in not bringing it up to that standard, because you are under no obligation to do so. I just don't know that I feel comfortable putting that burden on a developer to bring it up to that standard.
Cole, what do our regulations say about that?
Nothing. There's nothing in our regulations that say that they would be required to do any improvements to a county road. There is payback formula for subdivision roads. There is proportionate share language that we've used before, but nothing on county roads. So I just want to tell you the reason I put this condition in here, because I can't unknow Tara's advice.
Yep.
However, not trying to be adversarial to what Tara says, I just don't know that I fully agree with it or that I'm comfortable with it moving forward and putting this condition there. But I did not want to just ignore this. I wanted it, I highlighted it, I put it in here because I want it for discussion. I want you also to know, I have an option number 2 that does not include this condition.
So here's some of the thoughts that I have. I mean, right now, we're just talking about probably a couple lots on a county road that may not have a large impact.
Correct.
But let's think about what happened down on Price Road. This is a prime example of that. The developer was supposed to take care of this road. He didn't. And now here we are, the county, we find ourselves in a position trying to find a way to improve this road to all these folks that live on this road. I mean, that, to me, could be another situation like that.
Yes, that's a true statement. It is a subdivision, not at the end of a county road, but yeah, along the county road.
So I mean, the decisions that we make we need to be thinking down the road on, not just short term what's going to happen up here in this subdivision. This is something that's going to impact everything we go forward on.
I think Daryl's 100% right. I think we need to update our regulations. This is new information that we haven't worked with before. And your statement that it's not in our regulations, of course, proves that out. I think we need to update our regulations. It's been a couple of years anyway. And I think we need to include either a formula or some language on this subject, because Daryl's right. With this particular subdivision, this new information is coming in after the fact. They've already gotten preliminary plat. They asked us to revoke it on a totally separate issue. I don't feel that we should now say, and by the way, we're going to require this of you as well. So I think there's a way that we can be honorable to this particular situation and protect ourselves with the precedent setting by updating our regulations, putting a deadline on that. And there's some other things that need to be added to them as well. I think the time is right for that. This just gives us the excuse to get it done.
This language is in there right now, though, right?
I'm sorry?
This language is currently in there right now. That you had highlighted.
Is in the regulation?
No, is in their approval.
Well, yes,
Right.
I have 2 options. I'm giving you.
currently
sorry.
right now.
Yes.
This is how it reads.
This is how it reads, but I have an option 2 because again, the planning board did not assemble a quorum, so we're missing a step, which is, there's nothing wrong with missing that step. Generally, the planning board, we can hash all of this out and we can come to you with a plan. I'm not a planning board member, but representing the planning board and bringing this. But without the planning board to weigh in on this, I am at your mercy to assist in writing these conditions of approval. Does that make sense? I feel like I kind of muddled
So
that.
you're
I'm
saying
sorry.
you have 2 sets of conditions for approval, one with, one without.
Correct.
But there's nothing in the regulations that state that this is a requirement of preliminary plat.
That is correct.
So I guess my concern is when we start making exceptions, where do we stop? I mean, you could easily, anybody that comes to us after that can say, you know, you made an exception here, why can't I have that same exception? Why is that not extended to me?
And you are correct when you refer to Price Road. We did require, I mean, those were larger developments,
Sure.
but we did require those developers to make improvements to both Price Road and Wheatland Road.
Right. And originally, some of those developments weren't there off Price Road when that was first started, right? Some of them came a little bit later on, like Elk Ridge and some of that kind of stuff up there.
Yes.
See, so there's another good example. I mean, we're looking at it right now here in the short term. There's lots of other property up there that could be developed, right?
That is
So
correct.
here we find ourselves in this situation. We may not, as this commission, but it might be the commission that's here 10 years from now that finds themselves in this situation.
Yes, Bernadette?
Yes, I would like, just to answer your question, or statement, Daryl. Yes, I totally get where you're going and all, but on the roads and larger improvements, or larger subdivisions that are using a county road. But according to MCA 763620, number 2, for the conditions of approval, the governing body shall prepare written statements that must be provided to the applicant, that must be made available to the public, and that identifies the regulation and the statute that they are using in reaching the decision to deny or impose conditions, and explain how they apply to the decisions to deny or impose conditions. So by state statute, every condition of approval has to have a regulation stated or the MCA code of why it's put in there. So until the subdivision regulations are updated, and that is a subdivision regulation that then could be labeled on there, by state law, it really can't be, so it's really not an exception. It's just the way the regulations are right now. But, you know, that would be up to the planning board and the commission to update the subdivision regulations to include a process to allow for the updating of county roads.
Did you help them prepare this, Bernadette?
What's that?
Did you help them prepare this?
No, I did not help her prepare that.
So where did this information come from?
Tara Depew, Mako Land Use Attorney.
No,
I'm
this,
sorry.
what I'm reading here.
The findings of facts?
Yes,
That's prepared by Nicole.
I prepare that based on the subdivision submittal application
okay,
that the developer or the developer's representative gives to me.
okay, so this information here came from their submittal.
Basically, this is a book report, is how I like to look at it. This is the information.
So the developers submitted this originally, right?
That document, or,
Yes.
yes, submitted, I guess, I'm sorry, I don't know what,
What I'm reading right here, number 10,
okay.
we're discussing whether to leave it in or take it out.
Mhm.
I want to know where it came from.
Those are my words,
Yeah,
based on information I gleaned from an email from Mako Land Use Attorney Tara Depew.
so if I was to read this.
Yeah, and in fact, here,
This submittal that's in the red,
Mhm.
would it contain this language?
No, no. Because how this, kind of the timeline of how this happens, the developer submits, or the developer's representative gives me their application. I go through it based on information in here. I'm able to put together, I call it a staff report. It's nearly identical to this. There's a couple of just little tweaks. It doesn't have that cover page with the order. But essentially then that staff report contains my recommended conditions of approval to the planning board. The planning board, you know, we take an hour, 2 hours, 5 hours, whatever it takes, to hash over a subdivision staff report and submittal, so that by the time it comes to you, you've had quite a few people look at it, and we're confident in what we're presenting you meets regulation. In this instance, the planning board, again, did not have a quorum, so you're not getting their buy-in on this. I myself don't believe that condition number 10 should be in there, but I didn't want to ignore it, and I wanted to give you language in case you felt it did belong in there, based on what Tara is stating regarding improvements to a county road. And the reason I didn't want it in there is basically, I mean, this is new for us. I don't want to say this is new information, but this is new for Broadwater County to require the developer to make improvements to the county road ever since the Hamlin versus Lewis and Clark County case. So we previously were not requiring, so we did for a period of time, obviously with Price Road and Wheatland Road. And I think it's important to notice with Price Road and Wheatland Road, they did not meet the county road standard that was required for those developments at the time. There aren't very many county roads that are paved. Price Road is paved because of the increase in traffic on that road, which is why the developer had to pay for the extension of capital facilities. Basically, if the road was a local number 1 and they needed to move it up to a major collector, based on the number of vehicle trips per day. In the absence of a traffic impact study for this development, and it's only 5 lots, which is 40 vehicle trips per day, I cannot determine whether or not, I'm not an engineer, I can't determine whether or not Springville Road meets a local number 1 standard, which is the road that this should fall under. But I didn't want to ignore legal opinion, but my professional opinion, I don't believe that should be in there. But again, I'm not an attorney, and I don't know that, I don't know that I'm right or that Tara's right, I guess, and I'm sorry that I can't speak to you with confidence on that.
So given what Bernadette told us about regulations, with our subdivision regulations, we do not presently have this in our subdivision.
We do not.
So if we dismiss this from this set of conditions of approval, but we submit this to the planning board to add this to our regulation, and future subdivisions will have to pay, and it's not in here, it should be the proportional cost to upgrade the existing road.
Correct.
It's not to contribute the cost to upgrade the road, because then you're charging them to
I didn't.
improve the whole road.
Yes, you're right.
So if we remove it from this set of conditions of approval, and then we go back to our regulations and rewrite our regulations to improve this, then all future developments would have to pay the proportional cost to upgrade that road.
That is correct.
So if you go down here in number 11J, a waiver of right to protest zoning a rural improvement, is that not, that is to the future property owners, not the applicants, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Or whomever. I mean, if the applicants don't sell the lots forever, I mean, yes, then it could, in theory, pertain to them, but not at this stage of the game. These are commission-required covenants that if for some reason the commissioners decided, or the public along that road decided they wanted to create an RID for Springville Road, and these developers still own these lots, then yes, it would pertain to them, but not in this stage of the game. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So probably the first step that we need to make is to determine which findings of fact we want to apply to this subdivision and then vote to approve it. So there'd be 2 different votes, that's
Correct.
my understanding.
So that would be, so do we have a motion, or do you, I guess that we need a motion to direct Nicole to remove number 10 from this set of preliminary plat approval, which means you would go to your Plan B.
Are you okay with this, Daryl?
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that, but we need to be sure, and I want the record reflect that we are moving forward with changing our regulations, or subdivision standard regulations. I think that's important, going forward. I can't see holding Heinemann's to that right now. I'm okay with that.
I agree with you with updating those regulations, and also think it's smart to have it as a
Yeah.
part of the record.
Yep.
So I will move that we opt for the second set of findings of fact that exclude number 10 as it appears in this findings of fact.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor of moving to Plan B for the Hyman's 380 views minor subdivision? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you. And I'm sorry to make that so confusing. Usually these are a little more streamlined. This is the document that we assigned to the findings of fact and order report, and I will show you on the thing that you're signing. So we're starting with condition number 1, DEQ approval, 2 through 9. And then number 10 actually becomes the commission required covenants, which is 11 in your document there.
So before signing, I move to grant,
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, gosh. I'm jumping ahead.
you know what, before doing that though, I think it's important just to follow the MCA, 763608. And we did address the impacts to agriculture previously, and they are spelled out as none, essentially. Agricultural water user facilities, no impact. Local services, we did address Mr. Murdo's comments that there is no impact. Natural environment, again, Mr. Murdo suggested there's no impact. Wildlife, no impact. Wildlife habitat, appears to be none. And public health and safety, no impact. So with that, I will move that we grant preliminary plat approval to the 380 Views minor subdivision.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Motion been made, second to approve preliminary plat approval 380 subdivision minor views, minor subdivision. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
So now if you could sign that document. I'm so sorry, but just pushing right along. While you're signing that, can I ask a question regarding your meeting on Wednesday? Debbie Randolph had inquired about the trust board using this room from noon to 2 on Wednesday, but then noticed that you have this room also on Wednesday. Will you be out of here by noon?
I'm gonna say probably not.
Okay. I'm just
Only
going to
because
text
there's a
you.
2 o'clock schedule, so that would make it so that we only have
Okay.
a couple of hours.
I'm just going to text her so she can find a second location.
Okay.
And we'll move on to the Cole Brown Community Development Director request preliminary plat approval for 380 Views 2 minor subdivision.
Actually, I'm going to leave this up here because I think it's important for you to be able to see
Here's the whole.
both of them. Thank you so much. Oh, that shows both of them on it, doesn't it? Whatever. So this shows both. So here is what you just granted preliminary approval to. Here is 2. Let's see, and here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is their subdivision road. Would you like me to read this findings of fact and order report?
Have we been through this one before?
You have not been through two, but I am going to be honest here and tell you I used an identical document. All of the information is the same. It's a neighboring subdivision. I essentially used number 1 and used it as a template for number 2. So very little change between 1 and 2, other than this one does have a subdivision road. And so that was identified in this report.
Mr. Chairman, I would request it be read in full for the public, since we haven't reviewed with this one yet. And plus with having a commissioner.
Okay.
I will read fast in the interest of time. This is the findings of fact and order report for 380 Views 2, minor subdivision preliminary plat dated October 10th, 2018. Planning board held a meeting on January 22nd. Applicants are John and Mary Heineman. Bernadette Swenson is here representing the developers. The proposed subdivision is located approximately 3.5 miles northwest of the town of Townsend, Montana. The applicant proposes to develop 5 residential lots from an existing 24.92 acre parcel. These lots will be served by individual wastewater treatment systems and individual wells. Access to the proposed subdivision will be off of an internal subdivision road via the existing county road, Springville Lane. The required preliminary review fee of $2,000 and the weed inspection fee of $240 have all been paid. The proposed subdivision is the first minor subdivision from a tract of record, therefore a public hearing is not required. The 5 lots created will range from 3.51 acres to 7.36 acres in size, to be split off from an existing 24.92 acre parcel. The property is located in a residential area adjacent to Springville, which is a platted town site. Review is performed pursuant to the Montana Subdivision and Platting Act, Section 76.3101 through 76.3614 Montana Codes Annotated, and the Broadwater County Subdivision Regulations. The proposed preliminary plat, 380 Views 2, minor subdivision, as submitted by the applicant, together with required supplementary plans and information, appear to satisfy the requirements of these regulations and comply with the Broadwater County Growth Policy Plan dated July 2003. A preliminary plat, vicinity map, and topographic map of the proposed subdivision have been provided. No rock outcroppings or the presence of bedrock have been identified on the property. The proposed subdivision is not an area subject to flood hazard according to FEMA's floodplain map. However, Warm Springs Creek runs along the northwest boundary of Lot C1. In order to mitigate any potential negative impacts, a 50-foot setback from the creek is proposed. A natural drainage appears to run from a southwesterly to northeasterly direction across a portion of Lot C5. It is unknown if this is an active or seasonal drainage. These tracts will be served by individual wells and wastewater treatment systems. Since all parcels are less than 20 acres, review and approval will be performed by the Department of Environmental Quality. The lot owners will be responsible for disposal of their own solid waste. The subdivision residents will have the option of hiring an independent contractor to pick up their solid waste or transport it themselves to the Indian Creek Transfer Station, which is approximately 3.5 miles southwest of this proposed subdivision, or to the North Cedar Canister Site, which is approximately 4 miles southeast of the proposed subdivision. The property is currently open range, growing native grasses and shrubs. Lands to the north are railroad, U.S. highway, and agricultural. To the south are residential, to the east are agricultural, and to the west is proposed residential. This 5-lot subdivision will have a minimal effect on agricultural productivity since no lots are being removed from active agricultural production. According to the applicant, the proposed subdivision is not located on prime farmland as defined by the Natural Resource Conservation Service. This subdivision is considered to be compatible with surrounding uses since the surrounding area is mostly residential. No conflicts between the proposed subdivision and adjacent farm operations have been identified. This proposed subdivision should not interfere with the movement of farm machinery, operation of any irrigation systems, or diminish the availability or quality of water in the surrounding area. An environmental assessment was not required for this subdivision. No hazards such as falls, slides, or slumps are indicated on the plat. There is no known seismic activity. No geological conditions which might affect the development, such as unsuitable soils, were identified within the proposed subdivision. There are no areas of marsh, grassland, shrub, or forest located on the property. Currently, there have been no noxious weeds identified on the property by the landowner. A noxious weed management plan application form is included in the preliminary plat application as item number 27, but to date it has not yet been approved. If in the future any noxious weeds are identified, they will be sprayed with the appropriate herbicide. This subdivision should have no impact on wildlife areas such as big game wintering range, migration routes, nesting areas, wetland, or important habitat for rare and endangered species. Because of the size of the parcels and the fact that only 5 home sites are being constructed on the property, any effects on wildlife should be minimal. A letter to the Montana Historical Society is included in the preliminary plat application as item number 33. To date, a response has not yet been received. One new road is proposed for this subdivision. This subdivision road will have direct access from the existing Springville Road, which has been determined to be a county road by the Broadwater County Commissioners on November 19th, 2018. The internal subdivision road will serve all 5 lots, as well as lots B1, B2, B3, and B4 of the proposed 380 Views minor subdivision. According to Mako Land Use Attorney Terry Depew, the developer must pay the proportionate share the subdivision will have on all roads leading to the subdivision, in this instance, Springville Lane. It is estimated that the 380 Views 2 minor subdivision will generate an additional 40 vehicle trips per day per the Broadwater County Growth Policy Plan. Northwestern Energy will provide electrical service to this proposed subdivision. Phone service will be provided by CenturyLink. It is assumed that all utilities will be installed underground. The Yellowstone Pipeline runs along the southeast boundary of this proposed subdivision. A blanket easement for the pipeline is recorded in Book 44, page 356, with an undetermined width. The developers of 380 Views 2 minor subdivision are proposing to identify the pipeline easement with a width of 100 feet. The Broadwater County Rural Fire District will serve the proposed subdivision. A letter written to the Broadwater County Rural Fire District is included in the preliminary plat application as item number 26. The developer is proposing to pay the per lot cash in lieu fee of $1,000 to the BCRFD at time of lot sale. To date, a signed and approved fire plan has not yet been received. The nearest fire station is the City of Townsend Fire Station, which is located approximately 3.5 miles southeast of this proposed subdivision. The Broadwater County Sheriff, located in Townsend, will provide law enforcement, and the Broadwater Ambulance Service, also located in Townsend, will provide both ambulatory and emergency services. The Sheriff's Department and Broadwater Ambulance Service are both located approximately 3.5 miles southeast of the proposed subdivision. Letters written to both agencies are included as item number 23 of the preliminary plat application. The proposed development will generate approximately 8 school-age children whom will attend school in Townsend. There's an existing school bus route that serves this area, and the addition of 8 bus riders may have an impact on the bus route, but will likely not have an impact on the school. Lands in most directions are residential. This subdivision should be compatible with surrounding land uses, since there will be only 5 home sites constructed. An active creek, Warm Springs Creek, runs along the northwestern boundary of 3 lots in the proposed subdivision. The developers are proposing a 50-foot setback from the southeasterly boundary of the creek in order to mitigate degradation of the creek as well as any potential human hazards. Since this proposed subdivision is the first minor subdivision from a tract of record, no parks or recreation facilities are required. It's hereby ordered that the preliminary plat for the 380 Views 2 minor subdivision is approved, subject to the conditions listed below. Final plat approval shall be contingent upon completion and compliance with these conditions. Number 1. Plans for sewage treatment and water supply shall be submitted to the Montana Department of Environmental Quality for review and approval. The certificate of approval shall be filed with the final plat. Number 2, prior to any development and/or soil disturbance, a weed management plan for the proposed development shall be submitted to the County Weed District for review and approval. All specifications and requirements of an approved plan shall be met. 3, the applicant will be required to submit the final plat drawings in electronic format to Broadwater County in ArcGIS, AutoCAD, or MicroStation format. Additional materials may be requested by the county in electronic format to facilitate review of application materials. 4, the applicant and the Fire Protection Authority having jurisdiction shall use their best efforts to draft a fire protection plan specifically for this subdivision in accordance with Broadwater County subdivision regulations. The plan shall be equally acceptable to the FPHJ, the applicant, and the county governing authority. The plan shall adequately address the fire risk analysis, all findings of fact, and appropriate mitigation measures. In the event the parties are unable to come to an agreement by the time of final plat submittal, the applicant shall become eligible to provide the per lot cash in lieu fee for water supply as may be defined in the Broadwater County subdivision regulations in effect at the time of submittal. 5, the final plat shall be prepared in accordance with applicable state survey requirements, Montana Subdivision and Platting Act survey requirements, and the county subdivision regulations. 6, all internal subdivision roads must be designed in accordance with the Broadwater County road standards and stamped by a professional engineer. A letter from the PE shall be provided to the county stating that the roads and any improvements have been constructed in accordance with the approved plans and specifications, and that he or she has completed an inspection of the roads and any improvements. Number 7, and again, this is an option. I have an option number 2 here for you. I'm just going to read number 7 as an option. The applicant shall contribute the cost to upgrade the existing road, Springville Lane, from U.S. Highway 287 to the intersection of the internal subdivision road. Number 8, the book and page reference to the restrictive covenant filed with the county clerk and recorder shall be indicated on the face of the final plat. In addition, restrictive covenants, revocable or alterable only with the consent of the Board of County Commissioners, shall be placed upon the property and shall provide for the following. A, notification of potential health risk from radon concentrations, and that such risk can be evaluated through soil tests and mitigated through radon abatement techniques incorporated into structures. B, a notification that all dwelling units within the subdivision should be constructed to specifications which meet or exceed equivalent provisions in the applicable state building code for this seismic zone, which is Zone 3. C, any additional replacement or relocated utility lines shall be installed underground, in accordance with county subdivision regulations, unless otherwise determined by the utility provided. D, any exterior lighting shall be directed downward to minimize visibility beyond the property lines. E, a waiver of the right to protest to join a special district for the purpose of providing community water and/or wastewater treatment system improvements and/or maintenance. F, a restrictive covenant binding the landowner, any heirs, successors, and assigns, and all future owners of property within the subdivision, agreeing therein to hold Broadwater County harmless and indemnify Broadwater County from all claims, demands, obligations, suits, causes of action, damages, and liability, including the county's costs and attorney's fees, arising in any manner whatsoever out of or relating to the existence, use, operation, repair, and/or maintenance of the following. Subitem 1, earthquake fault zone and any seismic activity, and Subitem 2, water availability. G, all cats and dogs must be restrained, penned, or otherwise under the control of their owner at all times. H, notification of the presence of agricultural operations in the vicinity. I, each lot should be maintained in a clean, attractive, and weed-free manner. Noxious weeds must be pulled, sprayed, or cut prior to seed maturity. J, a waiver of right to protest joining a rural improvement or maintenance district for the purpose of road maintenance, mosquito control, or equitably funding parks and maintenance of parks. K, address numbers shall be clearly marked at the driveway entrance to each lot and be easily identified from the road. L, a notification that lots in this subdivision may be subject to impact fees if in place prior to lot sales. 9, prior to filing the final plat, the applicant shall A, provide proof that all taxes and special assessments assessed and levied on the property are paid for the current tax year, including any past delinquencies, and B, provide documentation, an abstract of title or platting certificate, showing that the applicant is the lawful owner of the property with the apparent authority to subdivide the same, showing the names of lien holders or claimants of record, and the written consent to the subdivision by the owners of the land, if other than the applicant, and any lien holders or claimants of record against the land. The applicant is financially responsible for actual outside engineering, consulting, professional and/or contracted service fees, etc., at the sole discretion of the county for additional review and/or final plat approval of the proposed subdivision. Preliminary plat approval of the 380 Views 2 minor subdivision shall be enforced for 3 calendar years. At the end of this period, the governing body may, at the written request of the subdivider, extend its approval for no more than 1 calendar year. However, the governing body may extend its approval for a period of more than 1 calendar year if that approval period is included as a specific condition of a written subdivision improvements agreement. A party as defined by 763625 MCA who is aggrieved by a decision of the governing body may, within 30 days after this decision, appeal to the Broadwater County District Court.
Per our last discussion, I think for clarity and for simplicity, I'm going to move that we strike number 7 from the order for the findings of fact. And that is also with the understanding that our regulations will be updated to reflect changes to that particular language.
So I find it interesting, that 15 minutes later, we just added 40 more vehicle counts to that road. So
Yeah.
I think, so I guess for me, bear with me. Our process, we need to create a resolution to make this change, is that how this works?
No, would you go through the process?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm also going to have a follow-up question. I know that we're meeting to discuss the CDBG and the RFP information on Wednesday morning at 8 a.m., correct? Sorry, sidebar.
Yes.
I don't know if this is something that can be rolled into that for cost, but I want that, I'm throwing that out there because I want to have this discussion. I want all of us to remember to have this discussion. Subdivision regulations can be amended by generally outside consulting firms can assist in writing the regulations. We pull in our county attorney, we pull in make a land use attorney, planning board to make amendments to the subdivision regulations. We then present those regulations to the commissioner and a public hearing is held.
That was my question, I'm sure it has to do with
And
a
a
public
resolution.
hearing, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
So that was a really short answer.
No, that's
But-
what I wanted to know, and so I guess my direction is sooner than later.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Okay, so also on top of page 5, underneath effects on roads, you have this, according to Mako Land Use Service Charity Bay, we've got the same sentence as what we're saying in condition number 7. So is that also gonna get taken out of there?
If you would like me to. This is your findings of fact and order report, so if you'd like me to remove that, I certainly can remove that.
I think if we're gonna remove the condition, we should remove that language. It's on the top of page 5.
I accept the friendly amendment and would add that to the motion.
Do we need to do that with the other one as well?
That statement is not on the other one.
Okay, okay.
I'll verify that, I guess, while we're looking, but yes, you're right.
The motion has been made to approve the preliminary plat for 380 Views 2 minor subdivision
That-
with the...
That wasn't my motion. My motion was just to strike the road
Oh.
language. Yeah.
The motion's been made to remove condition number 7 and also the language on top of page 5, beginning with the according to Mako land use attorney, the ending with Springboro, need to be removed from these conditions of approval.
Second motion.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Nicole, did we get an extension on this subdivision?
did.
Okay,
2 of them, actually.
all right. When does our current extension expire? Just out of curiosity.
I'm looking at my calendar here. Let's see, so we had a 10-day, it was originally the 17th. And actually, I don't know that we did receive in writing a subsequent extension. I think it was a matter of timing. The extension was actually, it's a 10-day extension from February 7th, which it doesn't specify business days or calendar days. So that, if we're assuming calendar days, that would be February 17th, which was a Sunday. 18th was a holiday. 19th, I did not get this on the agenda in time to get it to the record, so now this is essentially the only time you have been able to meet on it. So,
Okay.
Sunday the 17th, but moving forward because of
I
timelines.
did leave a 5-day extension letter.
Oh, did you?
when I
Okay,
came in
super,
and
okay.
seen you.
So we did have 5 more days on top of the 17th, which would be the 22nd. But because today is the 25th and you did not meet on the 22nd.
Okay. Per 763608, the 7 questions again seem to all be addressed. The impacts on agriculture are addressed and mitigated. Don't have the page numbers, but under effects on agriculture. It also discusses the water facilities and mitigation for that. It's also mentioned on the bottom of the next page. Local services are also addressed with the effects on schools and emergency services with fire, with a weed plan, roads, and sewage issues. The natural environment is mentioned and mitigated with the water setback, as well as the water setback, and then wildlife habitat and management is also addressed on the same page. And that would be under effects of wildlife and habitat. And public health and safety is also addressed under emergency services, and again with the school, roads, sewage, and weed plan. So, quite complete, Nicole, thank you.
motion to accept this application.
I'll make that motion if you guys are ready.
Yeah, we're gonna discuss this next. Yeah.
Do you want me to, I
Go
would,
ahead.
my
You got
motion
it
would
worded-
be,
You got it worded out, I'm sure.
well, my motion would be to approve final, preliminary plat. Did you
Mhm.
want to discuss it more?
Well, there was some questions that, on here that last time, I didn't get answered. I'll make sure that I got it right. So, Bernadette, do you want to answer these questions?
Sure.
Okay, so the shared driveway, it's serving lots B3 and B4, is that correct?
Correct.
The abandoned portion of Big Sky Drive, that's going to service lot B5.
Correct.
That was the reasoning for doing that.
Correct.
Okay. The discussion that came out of that was, it's called Block 21 and Block 20. A little bit of the confusion was, at some point, since we abandoned that road, did blocks 20 and 21 own that easement up to where the center of that would be? That question was never answered for me.
I did submit I know the commission had asked for a statement from the Heinemans,
That's correct.
and they did supply that.
I haven't seen it.
Was that part of the abandonment? Do you remember when that?
It was a letter from them, a short letter that stated that they wouldn't hold the county responsible, or I don't remember the exact wording on that, but they would not take legal action if they were requesting it, and that they were the owners of all the property.
Right. And so the question actually probably really won't lie with them. It could be down the road someday, whoever buys those lots. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. And that was the reason I requested that letter.
Right.
So have you guys seen,
Yeah,
have a letter?
I haven't seen that.
No, we discussed it. Did you email that to me?
I believe so.
Okay. I can look back on my email and forward it on to you if it came to me, not you. But if they submitted it, I know obviously it's out there somewhere, so I'll make sure that you get it in your hands.
Submitted it.
I don't recall reading it, but that doesn't mean anything. So we'll
Bring a
locate
copy
it.
with me. I do not have a copy of it with me.
Well, I mean, that was something that I asked for, because I have a concern about that.
And if you want to recess, I can run up and check my email. I may have just, if Bernadette did send it to me, I'm sure she did, and it may just be in my email.
Okay? Just take
And
a
so if
few
that
min-
would make you comfortable, I could.
Just take a few
Yeah.
minutes to do that,
Okay,
please.
super. On a side note, I'm sorry, with the trust board, you absolutely must use this room, correct? And you will not be out of here by noon. I just want to clarify with her
You know, on Wednesday?
on Wednesday.
Okay.
I don't know what your
We could use
Wednesday
our
meeting is, I'm
office.
sorry.
That was-
We can use our office.
Is that the, union
Update
negotiations
with
meeting?
Public Works on, update with Mary on the Public Works budget.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, we can do that.
So you can move, so, okay.
And then there's a 1 o'clock Board of Health meeting
But the Board of Health is meeting in here
here at 1.
at 1, but I trust board, they limit to an hour. Okay, give me 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
You wanna do commissioner updates?
Yeah,
We're
we'll
waiting?
do that.
How's that? Fawn, you thought you were gonna get a break, Ann, I'm sorry.
Well, I was gonna turn off the camera.
It kind of relates to discussions that we had regarding Highway 12 out here. I did get a chance to speak with Jeff Ebert, who is the department administrator for the Department of Transportation. Couple of things. Possum Bridge project is on schedule, and they're projecting that they would like to start in April if the frost comes out of the ground. So that's when that project will start. If anybody's been down there, you can see that they're doing utility relocates already, so that process has already taken place. And he wanted me to express to the commission his thanks for the support in, on that project. So, the successful contractors were Riverside Construction for doing the road portion, Sletton Construction will be doing the bridge. So I was able to talk to him about the progress of Highway 12 out here as far as from widening that road from the silos back towards Townsend. He said that they will be nominating that section of the road in their selection committee here this spring. And if successful, they'll start gathering the funds for that project. However, he said it's still probably 4 to 5 years out. They did receive all the commission letters, or the commission letter that we sent, and apparently he's received other letters from citizens in the area. So he said those were very helpful in bringing this up to the top of the selection committee's priority list. So he'll keep us informed on that, how that's going, but that is going forward. It is on their radar, and I guess that's all we can ask of them then for right now. I did have a chance to attend the MBAC meeting in Helena. They would like to have start having some of their meetings outside of Helena. So Townsend and White Sulphur were suggested. They actually voted on it, and they're going to follow through with that. So we will probably have, a meeting here, a meeting in White Sulphur, and I think that's good. Also, they reported that there could possibly be an increase in TSEP fundings for this year,
It'll be nice.
which would be nice. And then also received a email that Broadwater County has been awarded the Southwest Montana Community Corridor Marketing Grant. And what that does is Southwest Montana is an organization that receives bed tax money for the purpose of marketing Southwest Montana tourism. We work with several marketing firms and work directly with communities in Southwest Montana region. So I'm sure we'll hear more about that. That's all I really know about it. So that's okay. I attended the MSU Crop School down at Headwaters Livestock. That was very productive. A lot of farmers and ranchers from, I think it was 3 or 4 counties attended that. Allison did a wonderful job. And also the extension office out of Gallatin County in conjunction with MSU. Attended the airport board meeting. All seems to be going well out there. Attended the department head meeting, so I thought that it was a good start. And gave us maybe a little bit of a foundation to build from. There were some good conversations that came from everybody there, and comments on what we'd like to see out of previous, or our future meetings. And so thanks to all our department heads for attending that and making it a productive meeting. Also had a chance to attend the Ag Appreciation Dinner on Saturday night. And it was a great dinner, well attended considering the weather. I think everybody had a great time, and I'm proud to say that my son Cody received the Ag Business of the Year award from Broadwater County. So that was,
Nice.
yeah, it was pretty exciting to be there and support him. Also, a follow-up on payment from the Paladine LLC. He was the guy that was requesting taxes and penalties, penalties be removed from his taxes. We agreed that was something that we'd do if he sent the check, which he did. So we have the check, it's in the treasury, and it worked out as promised, so. Grateful for that. Yeah, 1 day early, all right, very good.
Okay, we can go back to Nicole.
So, yes, they did send it. I simply did not print it and add it to the file.
Good.
My apologies, sorry.
Thank you very much.
All right, I'm satisfied.
Any other questions, Daryl?
I don't think so. Okay.
Will this letter be filed with this plat? Because we've had issues with, access issues with the sheriff's department before on some of these things, so does this get letters filed with the COSA for lot B5?
Can it be filed, I guess is a question I would ask you first, okay? And then I can simply add it to the packet to be filed.
Okay.
Make sure.
Yes, sir.
Are you referring to the sharing of the driveway?
What's that?
Is that what you're talking about, the sharing of the driveway issues?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess if it's appropriate, and I know Bernadette's here, and I've talked to her, Nicole's here, I am starting to have, I'm being a little more reluctant to give blessings, my blessings for subdivisions, if they're shared a driveway, because the fact is all the issues we've had with Molstad Lane. That has been a time-consuming, it's been time-consuming for the courts, it's been time-consuming for my office, because the fact is it's based upon an easement. And when somebody changes ways and they don't get along, then they start fighting, and then we start spending an atrocious amount of time. And when I talk about atrocious amount of time, I bet there's weeks in the last few years that we have spent every day out there between the three landowners because they don't get along. And it's come down to the point where I've called their attorneys and said, look, if your clients don't knock it off, they're all gonna end up in a jail cell. Because it's getting that, just, lack of better words, stupid. So I guess if you're gonna relook at some regulations, and I don't mean to intervene into this, but if you're gonna look at some regulations,